All right, guys, it is finally here. I finally went and got it. Originally, I thought he had two of these things, and I was going to buy both of them. I got the hood there too. But he only could find one. He's been moving stuff around, so if he finds the other one, he will let me know, but it might have been a D2 engine that he was just mistaken when he pointed it out to me. I didn't really look at either of these too closely. I know nothing about this engine as far as if it works or not. It worked when it was pulled, but that was, however many years ago. No idea. Didn't even try to turn it over. Probably a bad idea, but hopefully it's better than the one I had. Does not have a flywheel. That's fine. For some reason I thought it had one when I looked at it originally. And it's set up for a pony, but this was a factory drill. This is a newer bell housing, and it's drilled already from the factory for electric start. So I'll convert that back to electric start. And yeah, not rusty really. It just looks like it just needs a really good cleaning. So I got to figure a way to get it off this trailer. This poor little trailer. This is a 3,000 pound trailer. And I bet you that weighs a lot more than that. But it survived. So let me find a way to get out of here before the rain comes. It's just freezing cold and raining out here. It's kind of miserable. I got almost the full reach on this cherry picker here, just to get a little up, just a tiny bit, so I can drive out now, hopefully, and this should just kind of slide back. That's the plan. And then once it's on the end of the trailer, I got jack stands kind of supporting it on both sides, and then I should be able to pick it up. All right, well, a rainstorm rolled in, so I threw a tarp over it and then bravely ran away. Now it's dark. So I got it slid back pretty far, and I'm on. I'll probably get away with 1.5 ton. I think we're suspended here. All right, now for the fun part. You gotta let it, you gotta pull it, and then once it swings out and then swings back, then you pull it again. That's the trick. It's like a crack in the pavement it's stuck on. The darn crack in the pavement is really causing me problems. I got it on the main concrete now though. Now it just wants to tip. This is brutal, let me tell you. There's another crack in the floor over here, of course. Yeah, the floor's a little not level here. Makes it a little bit more challenging to not tip over. Oh, like right there is a tipping point. In the flat area. Oh. You got to hand it to this Harbor Freight cherry picker, because I put this thing through hell. And I actually had that up on 1.5 ton just so I could have the reach over this engine. And it was flexing, but it was not bending, and it made it. Kind of got it on these furniture dollies again. Is this thing stable? Not even close. So I'm going to leave the cherry picker on there for now, and I'll rig up something else better later. Let's check the hours. I haven't actually done this yet. Check the hour gauge. see what we got. Well, it looks like 04000. So I guess that's is that 4,000? It's a lot better than the 10 or 11,000 that was on the other one, that's for sure. I have no idea how long this thing's been sitting. So I guess first step is I'll take the valve cover off. I'll open up the fuel rack, make sure that's not locked up. I haven't spun it yet. If you remember, if you saw the first engine when I was looking at that, it would spin like 30 degrees, and then there was a slight issue with a gear that prevented it from going anymore. So this is 7U359. What's that last digit? 61? I'll look up from what year that is. This is a much later year, I think. Like I mentioned, this bell housing was drilled, I believe. Yeah, it's drilled for a starter already. It has this stuff all made up, where the other bell housing was kind of just hacked up. And then I think I have to replace this to put the generator in. And besides that, I think I'm good to go. Let's give the dipstick a quick check here. It's a little bit frozen. I got it loose. It was kind of stuck on there. Oh my gosh. There's oil. And it's a miracle. There's actually oil in there. Who would have thought? I'll get some of this water out of here from pressure washing it. I was pretty gentle on the pressure washer. I didn't want to get some of the stuff like these on my engine were like, these are like O-rings under here, and they were pretty cracked, and then water was getting in them. So I didn't want to be too rough, because it might be a few days before I open this thing up. All right, well, it's been 3 days since I got this thing in here. The very next day I had some in-laws coming to town to visit, so I couldn't really work on this thing, which is actually for the best, because one, I was extremely sore after pulling this in here. My arms were just dying. Feel all better now. And then two, I went ahead and read through this entire manual. This is the service manual for this engine. And I learned a lot of stuff, by the way. This is a very well written manual. It sounds kind of nerdy just to read through this, because there's a lot of just procedural stuff, but there's also like a lot of just pages of how stuff works with really, really good descriptions. Whoever wrote this was a very good technical writer. I mean, this is how the governor works. The governor and the fuel injection are probably the most complicated part, and they have kind of like this isn't even what it looks like, but this is like the principle of how it works. And I read through this thing. I feel very confident now about working on this thing. I'm going to get this valve cover off, and I want to pull these injector valves out and pour some oil down there just to have some kind of marinating inside the cylinders there. Get the valve off, or this valve cover off, check for frozen valves. I'm going to get this cover open and check the rack, see if anything's stuck, any of the plungers are stuck. I do have a depth micrometer, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll check all the injectors, make sure they have the right lift on them. What else I'm going to do? I'm going to pull a couple inspection covers here. What are you crying about, dog? I'll pull these inspection covers, give the crankcase a looking over, make sure the oil pump looks good. If you saw, I guess you obviously saw, it was just a minute ago for you, but it was 3 days ago for me. The oil obviously had never, it's just, I don't know if it was for storage, but it's obviously never been run without oil. So maybe they drained the oil and they poured new oil in. But what I would like to do is tap into this manifold right here. This is the oil manifold, which goes into the block it goes from the pump out to the filter and into the manifold. See, I know all this stuff now because I read the manual. I would like to tie into that, maybe here, and pressurize the oil system and get oil kind of splashed over everything, just to, before I start cranking on it. I'll probably turn it over by hand here in a second, but there's this fuel gauge is on the oil manifold. I'm not sure what that's about. It's definitely a fuel gauge. I mean, the fuel is supposed to be a 15 psi and the oil system is supposed to be a 30, so that's not going to really do me much good there. I think the original oil on my other engine went somewhere else, but I'll double check that. This right here is a coolant passage for the pony motor. So I have a block off plate on the other block over there for that. And I will have to convert it back over from the pony setup, which I should have all the parts for that from the other block. And yeah, let's get to it. Let's get this valve cover off. So this was stored out of the sunlight under a covered area. So it should hopefully be in good shape. Not even stuck. Oh, wow. It looks like an actual engine in there. Look at that. I'm gonna have to compare and contrast to what the other engine looked like here, because this is literally night and day. There's I mean, there's oil on here, but it's not bad. So here's the new engine valve cover. It looks like I mean, there's a black film on it, obviously, from the oil, but it's not, there's like paint lines on here. I don't know if you can see those. Here's off the old engine. A little bit rusted. Here's the valves off the new engine. And here is the old engine. I don't know, what do you guys think? Stick with the old engine? And the thing about this is there is not a lick of rust or of oil anywhere on this. This is all just, it's like it's been, like someone just went off after it with brake cleaner or something. So we're off to a good start then. Get some of this dirt off of here. What is this? I should have really pressure washed in here better. I was just worried about water getting into the cylinders. You never know with something like this. So by the way, update on this. I looked back at the old video I made where I first found the engine, and the serial number that I had shown in that video was different than this one, which means that the original engine he still has somewhere. He thought there was only one 7U engine, but there's definitely two, because the other one was a 7U, like 18,000 serial number. So I might still go and end up picking up the other engine just to have it as a spare, or I could, I don't know, put it in another bulldozer, or I could sell it. I don't know yet, but I mean, why would you have one engine for one money when you could have two engines for two monies, right? Yeah, this is great. Nothing is stuck on here so far. Don't jinx yourself. Well, before I start this thing, I'm going to be recalibrating the injector lift height anyways, so I might as well go ahead and pull these off just to get them out of the way. Diesel in there, that's a good sign. So if these are stuck. I believe that came out easier on the other one. I cannot get these injector valves out. This is what they're supposed to look like. This is off the other engine. So it's just held in place by this little groove right here that goes all the way around, and then this just screws over it. But it's just not, I just maybe need to wiggle it around for a while. I got the penetrating oil in there right now. All right, well, I just got this number one out. This does not look rusty, so I'm not sure why these are sticking. There's a lot of carbon on here, which obviously I can clean that off, no problem. I got another one out. I have no idea why these are stuck in here. I see no reason on them when I get them out why they're stuck, but I'll show you what I'm doing here. I'm just putting this on, and then I'm using this box wrench as a pry bar to just pop them up. Like there, right there. And look, there's nothing on here. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, maybe right there. Some of that knurling's a little messed up. I got them all out, so I'm gonna pour some just some oil in here. Let it marinate in there for a while. Don't want to. Okay, so before I turn this thing over, I'm gonna take this off. Just as I turn it over, I'm gonna watch it, make sure there's nothing stuck in here. And is there oil in here? There is oil in there. Not too bad looking either. Ooh, that's old oil though. I keep forgetting to ask, well, he wouldn't remember how old this, how long ago this thing last ran. It's gotta be at least 20 years, because he hasn't scrapped out a D4 in forever. Wow, it looks brand new in there. Well, these pistons all look really good, and this is like pretty dry in here. There's no rust built up. Go ahead and spray some little bit of penetrating oil in here, just to make sure nothing's gonna get stuck before I turn this thing over. I think I'm gonna take off this inspection cover since this, well, can I get to this? Yeah. I'll take this one off, that way I can see most of what's going on in here. And then I think we'll be ready to turn it over. Oh. I remember when I pulled this plate off the other engine, this was completely coated in rust. All right, let's get in there and take a look. Let's see if we can get in here, okay? It's looking really good, guys. Don't know how well you can see this. Looks really good. Now, that's the bearing cap there. Not sure why that one is brown. Maybe it's been replaced at some point. It's not brown, it's got the primer on it. You can see oil in there. It's really hard to kind of get a good light in here, unfortunately. But you know what? This looks really good. These clips, that clip on that retainer cap, that's different than the ones that were on. That looks interesting. I wonder if this was rebuilt. There is a tag on this thing. Is this a rebuild tag? Let me clean this up. That tag was not on the other block, I don't think. Which one is that? That's, yeah, that's a different plate. But let me clean that up. Maybe this looks like it might have been rebuilt. Which the other one was rebuilt too. That wouldn't be a big surprise, but oh man, look at that cam. Oh my gosh, the camshaft. It's beautiful. Pistons look great. I see there's no rust. Everything's coated in that black, used diesel fuel or oil. Oh man, I think I got my $500 worth. All right, let's turn this thing over by hand and see if it spins. It's got to spin. It's got to spin around twice to get a full rotation of everything. But let's give it a shot. I can't make out anything on that tag. I think it's just a patent tag. So I got the crank bolt on there, and then we got, I think that's compression release there. Hopefully this is enough torque here. This thing wants to fall off. Come on. There we go. Oh, okay. Oh, it's spinning. Okay. So let's watch this first. All right. It's turning really easily. Of course, the compression release is off. Those are all going up and down. Crankshaft turning. Okay. So there's you can tell where this one was sitting. Okay, those are all good. Let's get some eyes on the valves here, see if any are stuck. I would be surprised if any of these were stuck. based on anything else, but there's 3 coming back up. 4. Yeah, I think we're good on the valves. I think we're good. If I turn that off. I probably shouldn't do that with these Kleenexes in here because it'll suck those in. All right, well, I think we're good. Well, I think I got my $500 worth on this thing for sure because this looks like a good engine to me. There's no doubt in my mind this thing will start. Once I flesh out the fuel system and recalibrate, you know, the lifters and all that kind of stuff, this thing is going to fire up no problem. So I think next step is going to be converting it back from Pony over to DC12. So I'm going to be borrowing parts from the other engine to do that. And then I'll get it all buttoned back up eventually and hopefully hosed off a little bit better before I put it back. But really, I mean, this is a pretty clean engine here. Pretty happy about it. So I'm gonna leave it here for the engine. I got some other footage that I took earlier where I'm refixing this thing again and a couple other things. So I'll tack that on the end of the video here and then we'll be back for a wrap up. Yes, the front transmission shaft is out for the 3rd time. Hopefully this is the last time, but I took the clutch out again because I had to fix a couple things that after thinking about it, after putting it together, I realized I made some mistakes. The main thing though was something that never sat right with me when I put this back together. So this is a coupler right here, and basically this joins the transmission to the input shaft. And these keys right here are what stop it from turning. So you get a key in there, and it would turn the whole thing. What didn't sit right with me was this key in here, and it's banged up right now because I've been trying to get it out. It did not sit in this pocket properly, and if I can show you here, it just is not flush in here. So I was wondering if it was supposed to be like that. It turns out this key and this key are the exact same part number. And I measured this key and it's 375 thousandths on one side and 365 on the other. So if I take this other key and I put it here, let me put it over here. So this orientation right here, it'll fit, no problem. This side does not fit. So this is a rectangular key for some reason. And what's happened here is they've taken it and they've just hammered it in to get it in there. And it's so stuck now, and it's because it's the wrong orientation. This thing does not fit flushly. It just does not fit in there right. So the problem is, well, a potential problem is that since it's not in here perfectly straight, there's probably a little bit of a wobble or a vibration while this thing's going. That could be the reason why the clutch spring kept breaking, obviously, because there was 2 broken clutch springs. It could have also damaged this bearing, just a non-stop vibration. So I ordered a new bearing. I just looked at the trade number. I found one for like 20 bucks, no big deal. And then I'm gonna have to cut, I cannot get this key out. It is stuck in there, so I'm gonna have to try to cut it out here in a second. The other thing is this, and I have some cell phone footage of close up on this, but basically there's a really, really bad ridge on this spacer. And this is right where the seal runs, so that seal has worn this ridge into here. So I need to replace that. I was thinking about just putting in like a couple washers to kind of move it, and then the seal would run in a different place. But I actually found a replacement spacer here for about, I think it was 30 bucks. So I just ordered that off. I found it randomly on eBay, the same part number. This spacer is actually what holds this bearing in. So you can see I started to pull it off, but I couldn't get this key out. You have to get this key out first. So I'm gonna get this key out. I ordered more key stock and I got the spacer and the bearing, so I'm gonna rebuild this whole thing. There should be no leaks coming out of the front of this transmission when I'm done, and it shouldn't rattle anymore. Oh, I see a crack in there. I think I finally budged it. Let's see if I can pop it out. Oh my gosh. Got it. This is the most stuck thing I've ever... And if whatever idiot put this in, if he just would have put it in sideways, it would have fit. I don't understand how that would even happen. Like, did he just hammer it in there? Or did he heat it up or something? Here's the other key. This is the same part number from Cat. So it does not fit like that. Fits perfect right there. So the one I ordered is just a generic key stock. It's 375 by 375, so it'll fit either orientation. Got a real nice setup here on the press to give myself enough space. Clear this gear. I think it's about time for a new press. I don't know. What do you think? This one's been through about 15 suspension rebuilds. It's never been a great one to start out with. It does work though, just kind of bent. Okay, we got it. Yep. You'll have to excuse the purple light. Do have some strawberries coming in though. Oh yeah. The same story on this bearing as the one on the bevel shaft. If you search for the Cat part number, the bearings are like 50, 60 bucks each. But if you just look at the trade number, and this one should be this is a different brand, but it's the same trade number. This says New Departure 1309. I saw a picture of one of these. It was a BCA 1309, so that's what I ordered. 1309 should be the same. We'll find out, but that was only 20 bucks. So that's something I found is if you just go off the trade number, it's a lot cheaper than getting the cat part number. I guess since I'm working on the clutch, I might as well get the spring made up. I could buy a new spring. I think it was like 50 bucks though. This is kind of a low risk thing because it's I can change this out later. But there was two springs on here. They were both broken. This is the one that was in the best shape. I'm pretty sure this side goes on the clutch arm and this side gets the anchor point. On the other spring though, it had this was hanging off broken. This is obviously the OEM side that goes on the anchor point. And you can see it starts curling. So I'm guessing this is what the original spring pretty much looked like. So I'll try to replicate this length. So I got this spring here. These are new ones. There's like, 4,100 different springs you can choose from. I went with this one because it's pretty close. The coil length isn't as long, but the wire's thicker. It's a little bit more stiff than that. Actually, quite a bit more stiff. So I can always swap this out, but this is low risk. Like I said, the new old stock, because I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks for a spring, which I'm not going to pay that for a spring that I can change out at will. Well, when you line up right here, this actually lines up pretty well down here. Just cut it off here. I got a little bit too much pressure on here on my acetylene torch. Who's that? It's pretty close. That's a thick wire, but it bends easy. And then let that cool off for a second. I don't know, heating it up, it's going to make it less strong. I don't know what this is made out of, but it's not, it doesn't want to bend, so that's probably going to work. Like I said, this is low risk. I can always just throw another spring on if I ever need to. So the anchor point's up here. I guess, well, I don't know. Seems okay. I have no idea. I have nothing to reference it to though, because like this machine was broken when I got it. Okay, well, it's several days later here. Got the new spacer, and this is a new cat bag. This is 2006. Looks correct. And okay. The old one doesn't have a part stamped on it, but this one actually does. It's not stamped, it's just written. Got the new bearing in. See if this is the right size. Now this one has, oh, is this the right size? Yeah. It does have a snap ring provision in it. Well, that's not a big deal, I don't think. So BCA 1309. This is 1309. Looks the same. Let me get the snap ring off. I want to check this for play, because this one I can feel, oh yeah, this one is loose. I'll show you in a second. I'll get the shaft on there and you can see, but this one is extremely tight. And you can hear that. Let me hold this up to the mic. So that's the good one. Here's the bad one. Definitely glad I replaced that. Get the new one pushed in here. That looks seated. I think that just went on there. And then this gets pressed on. And we are, oh, and I have the new key too. We got some new key over here. So this one I'll probably have to cut down just a smidge to get it into there, since this is a 375 and this seems to want about 10 under. So that's just a little bit of a mod there, no big deal. Is this backwards? It is, isn't it? I almost put this on backwards. There we go. Okay, that was a close one. So it's nice and tight. Sounds pretty good. So let me just cut this down, and then I'm going to shave it a little bit so it fits. And I will be all done with this finally for the third time. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, I just need to cut off a little bit here, so I'll go pretty light. Okay. Oh, that's just like perfect in there. Yeah, I can tell right now that's not wobbling. That's exactly how it's supposed to fit. You know, sometimes it helps me to put something together. Even if I think it's wrong, I just do it anyway and then think about it overnight or for a couple days. And then usually I can come up with what's wrong with it. And I knew there was something wrong with this when I put it together, because it was doing that wobbly and it wasn't fitting together. And I'm really glad I took this back apart and kind of refreshed this whole thing. All right, back in. And that seal just looks really, really good on there. So I have no doubt that's not going to leak. I used RTV this time just because I'm so sure it's right, and so I can't torque it down yet. It needs to kind of sit hand tight there until it cures for about an hour. All right, this shot here. So before I had to it wouldn't fit flush. Yeah, like that's perfect. Before I had to like clamp it in place. Now, now it's totally flush. So that was definitely not done right before. All right, next up, I need to make up a couple of these plates. These were both kind of rusted. One of them had a couple holes in it. This one's so rusted it's got like almost a knife edge on right there. It's so sharp. So I got a rough cut piece of 1/8 here, and I'm just going to clamp it along the finished sides and go around it with an angle grinder. Get it to shape, and that'll be good enough. Looks like it is lined up. That'll work. Just need to prime those, paint them on the top. Oh, I guess I'll just prime them on the top. I already made up another one. So these are both, should have about the same bolt lineup. I've been putting plastic on this thing when I'm not working on it just because it's like a really dusty ceiling up here. This car, my Z's been in here for like maybe a year, and it's just you can see what it does here. All right, guys. Well, we're back in the present time here. So once again, just I feel like I won the lottery on this engine here. It's just great condition, and it was just seems to have been stored properly. And I just maybe I'm just comparing against the old one, but it just seems like I really struck gold here with this thing. So next step, like I was saying, I'm going to convert it back from pony over to 12 volts, clean it up, and then we're about ready to get this thing on the machine and maybe fire it up. Not too much more time. So, yep. Charlie, what do you think? It's a good engine? Yeah, I think it's a good engine, right? All right, guys. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll be back soon. Hopefully you have a good Thanksgiving holiday. We're going to be celebrating it upstairs in the barn. We still have some kind of paranoid holdouts on the whole thing. So you know how that goes. Anyways, I will be back hopefully next week with steering clutch stuff or more engine stuff. We'll see.